Excellent. We should be recording, and I'm going to hit go live. And we're going to see
Beautiful.
what happens here. We're going to give it hell.
The webinar is now streaming on Facebook. Seems that we are ready to go. Ready
Okay.
to rock and roll. Are we live? Let me check the phone. You can see it on the phone, right? If we are live.
Yes. Let's see here. Boom. It says we're live. I think it's
Alrighty.
working.
Yes, we are live. Hello, everyone. I think there's some lag here, right?
Yeah, usually there's like a few second delay, so you're good.
Cool. But I think we can just get started. Till then, I would love to introduce you to Drew P, who is a dear friend as well, and I just appreciate the shit out of this guy because he is truly amazing. You will see it as the webinar progresses. Just to give you a perspective of who Drew P is, he's a highly well-known salesperson, especially in the world of Ryan Stuman, because he's my mentor. Ruby, I had the chance to work with him. He's an amazing guy. His focus is on service above everything, and that has helped him become a seven-figure closer or figure revenue producer in whatever industry he has worked with. He operates with extreme integrity and humility, and just says things the way they are, which is super cool, I find. He's super confident, and empathy is his superpower as well. And let's give him a warm welcome. Thank you for being here, brother.
Yeah, man, it's a pleasure, Rohan. I really appreciate you taking the time to have me here. I know you're doing some incredible things for this group and everybody that you work with. I see the content that you're putting out, man. I'm just like blown away by how awesome it is and how much value you're giving. Like, dude, it's insane. And I know the thing with like, we're on Facebook, but what you focus on is LinkedIn content. And I think what's cool about it is that you've figured out the idea of understanding there's two platforms, there's two different audiences, but there's value that can be provided on both, right? And so I just love watching you, provide that value and seeing you work with clients and just crushing it to help them get the results that they're looking for, because not only is it changing their life, but I've seen it the way that it's changed your life. And it's just, it's a ripple effect, man. It's awesome.
I mean, this is essentially what we are here to do. The better we serve, the better we will do for ourselves. So cannot be more blessed, I would say, doing this and being in company of awesome people like you.
I appreciate that, man. It's all about the group. As you know, that's what we talk most about, with Apex and everything like that. So yeah, man, any value that I can provide for your group and everybody who's watching this now or in the future. And if you are watching this, make sure you're hitting the like button and some hearts, send us some engagement, because we want everybody to be able to see this.
Yes,
this
and anyone who sees this later on, just put a hashtag replay so that the algorithm puts it on top and a lot of you can get value out of this. Ruby, I would like to know what your story is. I mean, you somehow just appeared all of a sudden in my life, and I was like, who the hell is this guy? Where was he all this time? So I'm like super curious to know this because I personally don't know about it.
Yeah, man. So, I'll kind of keep it brief because we only got an hour for this, and I could ramble on for a while. I'm pretty good at that. But my story. So, we'll kind of start with the sales stuff. Basically, I got into sales around the age of 19 or 20. I mean, I had been selling, like, I sold pot as a kid in high school. I think most of us did, right? Like, it is what it is. But around 20 years old, I had been working as a nuclear pharmacy technician, working third shift. I was real overweight, super out of shape, just not healthy at all. So I decided to walk away from that and got a job as a bouncer. Well, the guy that I was bouncing for owned a couple of clubs. He also owned a cigar shop. And, obviously working at the clubs, I was working at night, and during the day I didn't have much to do. So he said, hey, man, if you want to make a few extra bucks, you can come and work at the cigar shop and sell cigars for me. So I said, all right, cool. Got into retail cigar sales. Did pretty well, I guess, just kind of figuring things out. And my whole goal was always like, hey, how can I help the client, the customer get what they're looking for. So I started trying the cigars and figuring out the different flavor profiles and kind of understanding that. And when guys would come in, I kind of made it my goal to say, well, if they typically buy a $5 cigar, I want to sell him a $6 cigar just to see if I can do it, right? Just, try something different.
Uh-huh.
Ended up in my first year, I got promoted to being the manager of the store at around the 6-month mark. And when I became the manager, I started seeing the numbers behind the scenes. And basically, we went from doing about $300,000 a year in sales up to about $500,000 that year that I took over. We won Best Cigar Shop in Toledo. It was just crazy, and I got to really enjoy the business side of it. I got to learn that part and, the sales and the business. But then I also had the ability to chat with a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs. These are guys that were hanging out at the cigar shop, smoking cigars during the day. So a lot of them were business owners and entrepreneurs who had been through what we're going through. And a lot of the viewers are going through, right? Building that business, how to run and manage things, all of that. So I got a lot of wisdom out of it. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, the guy who owned the shop about 2 weeks before Christmas back in 2008 came in and said, man, hey, I really appreciate all that you've done for me. You're a great hard worker. I like I said, I appreciate it, but I got to let you go. Well, okay. So 2 weeks before Christmas, thrown out on my face, nowhere to go, not really sure what to do with myself, but it is what it is, right? We always pick up and carry forward. In mid-January, I got a call from one of the customers of the cigar shop. He said, hey, man, I heard you got let go. I'm so sorry about that. I work over at the furniture store around the corner. I don't have a lot of work, but we're getting ready to ramp up for tax season, which is our busy season. If you want, I can probably bring you in. It'd be straight commission, but at least it would put a couple bucks in your pocket. Mm-hmm. So I got nothing else to lose. It's been a month since I worked. Like I'm on, unemployment at $150 a week or whatever. Like this ain't going to do. So I went in, met the owner of the store. He hired me on the spot. I started Monday morning, and I didn't know a damn thing about furniture. So didn't know anything. But I understood sales a little bit because I had been at the cigar shop for a couple of years. And so as people were coming in, I basically just focused on serving them, right? How can I help people get what they're looking for and let them, go home with their new furniture? So I ended up selling about $150,000 worth of furniture in that month and a half that I was there, which was just shy of what the guy who brought me in sold. I think he did like 180, and he had been there for 10 years. So this is when I really kind of started thinking, okay, sales might be something I'm good at. Like I never really wanted to be a salesperson. I always kind of like didn't care for salespeople, but I think I didn't care for the pushy salesperson. The one that's just hard closing you and trying to get like, just take it home, just do it right now. And it's just, I couldn't do that. Right. So I did that. While I was working at the furniture store, an in-law of mine said, hey, I'm getting ready to start this Allstate insurance agency. I understand that you're doing pretty well with sales. I think I'd like to bring you on to be my number one sales guy. I'm like, well, I mean, the furniture job only has about 2 weeks left before I'm done here. So timing was perfect, right? So I went to training for Allstate, got that done, and we started April 1st of 2013 is when I started in the insurance industry. My biggest thing with insurance was we didn't know a damn thing about insurance either. It was like, hey, here's an Excel sheet full of names and phone numbers. Here's the system. Here's how you do quotes. And go do it. I was like, well, shit, okay. So I started out like I had a big packet of Excel list, name, phone numbers. I had a ruler and 2 highlighters, a red highlighter and a green highlighter. If they said no, they got a red. They said maybe, they got a green. And I just kept calling and did pretty well. I was in insurance industry for about 5 years altogether, 5.5, I think. I was doing somewhere between $250,000 and $300,000 a year in annual premium sales. I think before I left, I had just over, $1.5 million, almost $2 million of business that I had written for the agency from the time I started to the time I left. So multiple 7 figures in sales. And, the whole reason that I got out of insurance was that I was grinding. I was doing 50, 60 hours a week. I was putting up big numbers, and I wasn't making that much money. The owner of the agency, who was an in-law, was a wonderful guy. I certainly have nothing bad to say about him. He took a lot of great care of me, but he could only pay me so much, and I was working so hard that I just was like, this isn't going to work for me. I have that entrepreneurial spirit. Like I want to get out. I want want to earn what I'm worth. And I had a call, and this was probably one of the most life-changing moments I've ever had. Towards the end of my time in insurance, I started learning how to do lead generation and marketing. That's, what most of the people are in this group for, because they want to learn how to generate their own leads and become more successful.
Correct.
So I started learning lead generation, building sales funnels, using like our phone sites tool and, leveraging social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, all of these free platforms with billions of users that I just didn't know how to use correctly. So I started learning lead generation and marketing, got reasonably good at that as far as for the insurance industry. It's like, okay, if I can get leads for myself, maybe I can get leads for real estate agents and mortgage officers. Those are my best referral partners. So if I send them a lead, they're going to close it and send it right back to me. No brainer, right? So while I'm doing all of this, I get a phone call from someone that's in one of our private groups for the phone sites tool. They're like, hey, I saw that Ryan Stewman had, shouted you out in a post that you're doing really well with the program. What would it cost me for an hour of your time to teach me how to do that? And it was like, holy shit, like an hour of my time. Like I wasn't even going to charge the lady. I just was going to help her, right? That's all I was doing, was just providing value and helping people in this group and just, trying to get something, learn some things myself, right? Because that's one of those things. When you learn something, it's cool. But when you learn something and then teach it to someone else, you get like 100 times better at it. It's just the way that you approach something, right? So I said, well, I'm doing the math. Okay, well, I'm selling this. I make about, X amount per week. So I'm doing the math. I'm like, all right, I make about $25 an hour. If I'm going to do this after work, I don't know, $50 an hour. She's like, that's ridiculous. I'll give you 75. So, well, okay. $75 for an hour? Hell yeah, sign me up. So I got on the call with her. She was an incredibly nice lady. We had an awesome call. By the end of it, she was laughing. I was laughing. We were having a great time. I honestly wasn't going to charge her. Like it was just fun, just being able to help somebody, right? And so we got to the end of the call, and she's like, hey, what's your Venmo? So I give her my Venmo information, which I don't even think I had one. I had to set up an account because I'd never used it before. And so she sends me $75. She's like, that was great. It was so informative. Like, I want to probably need another call or two, so just be ready. And I remember hanging up and seeing the Venmo notification for $75 and calling my wife and going, holy shit, how do I do this like all day long? Because that was awesome.
Yeah.
And so it started my path into like marketing and lead generation and doing all these things. About a week or two later, she calls me back and says, you know what? I'd rather just pay you to do this for me because I'm busy. So how many hours a month is it going to take for you to set all this up and do it for me? I'm like, I don't know, like maybe 10 total. She's like, all right, perfect. Sign me up. Tell me, I'll just send you the money. Let's do this. So all of a sudden I've got my first marketing client. Just like stumbled into it. Right. And so got her. She had a friend that she referred to me to do the same thing for. Again, I was in the groups using social media. So I'm talking about what I'm doing. I'm sharing my results. We're learning and all that. So I started getting some referrals from other people. Within a month, I had made about $7,000 from marketing clients, which was like 2 months worth of effort at the insurance agency. I was making somewhere around like $4 to $5 grand a month at the insurance agency. I made $8,000 from marketing. And it was something that I was like goofing off with most of the time. I say goofing off, but what I mean is it was like a side hobby, right? It was just something I was figuring out. So I started realizing there's something to this, right? Like I'm working 50, 60 hours a week, chasing people down, trying to sell them a $300 insurance policy that I make like $30 on, maybe 50 if I'm lucky. Like, what am I doing here? So around this time is when I'm, starting to see Stewman and Ryan's hardcore, like his programs, Apex and all of this stuff. So I'm like, well, I think these are the guys I need to be connected with. They're doing big things. I need to get plugged in over here because this is my opportunity to really get a deeper understanding of marketing and lead generation and leveraging the social media platforms like Facebook and Instagram. So I signed up for Apex. 2 weeks later, I've got like 4 new clients already. So now I've gone from making a few $1,000s a month selling insurance, working like 60 hours a week, to I'm making almost $10,000 a month and I'm just hanging out on Facebook all day. And it was like the craziest shift, right? But not to say that I wasn't working, but it was just, I all of a sudden understood that there was more value to my time and how important it was to see that and put that back into the world.
Yeah.
And so this is all kind of when that whole like cycle of personal development and all that starts coming into play, the mindset. Hey, if you don't believe you can make $10,000 a month, you're never going to get it. That's like a key part of it. Mindset is 80% of the battle. The skill sets and all the things that we can teach you as far as, what Rohan's teaching everybody in this group, that's big. Like you need that skill set, but the mindset is key. And that's another thing that I love seeing you talk about, man, is you talk about strategies and tactics, but you also talk about the mindset. And I'm glad you do, because that's such an important piece of it. So I get in, I'm working, got a couple clients. Ryan reaches out. He says, hey, man, I love what you're up to. I want to bring you on for the Phone Sites tech support team. He's like, you're just going to keep doing the same shit that you're doing, but now I'm going to pay you to do it.
Cool.
That's a no-brainer. All right, cool, man. So I did that for about a month. He reached back out and said, dude, you're in the wrong business. I need to get you out of insurance. I want you to come work for me. I truly believe that you have what it takes to help, coach and mentor people and help them change their lives. And I'm going to mentor you, and we're going to, do some incredible things. And so in March 1st of 2019, so just over a year ago at this point, I left my $1 million book of business in the insurance agency and decided to start over completely.
This is awesome. I mean, so many awesome lessons in this story. It's just incredible. And it's, and this thing where you just keep on evolving, that process is something that everyone should be addicted to. And this is, I mean, if you just believe in your goals and keeping on doing things which you really love and let the universe, so to say, guide the way, it's gonna happen. Just believe and keep on putting the work. This is so crucial.
Yeah, I mean, you have to see it so that you can say it, so that you can hear it, so that you can see it. You know what I mean? It's like a process, that manifestation. And of course, if you have a ridiculously big dream, it ain't gonna happen overnight. Like you said, you have to be willing to put in the work. You have to be willing to make those sacrifices to achieve that goal. It's not to say that it's not possible. It's not to say that it's going to be easy, because it sure as hell isn't. But if you truly want something bad enough and you're willing to do what it takes, you will 100% achieve it. That's all. I mean, it is what it is. It's just how it, like, think about Elon Musk. He's going to go to Mars. Like, how crazy is that? But he sees it. He believes it. He's going to make it happen. Yeah. And so that's the process. That's exactly it. Like, my mindset shift coming to work with, Ryan and seeing the way that the high level entrepreneurs approach problem solving, like, that made the biggest difference. And so I came in, and basically that's what I do all day long is I get on calls. I help people see where they're struggling and say, okay, here's where you're struggling. Here's some specific strategies, some tactics, some things that you can implement today, tomorrow, next week, consistently, that are going to help you generate the results that you're looking for. So what's cool about my job now, as far as being, a salesperson, coach, consultant, whatever you want to call it, is that I don't have to actually sell anyone. My job is simply to do two things: be empathetic, understand where the client is struggling and what they're trying to achieve, and then be confident in my ability to deliver. It's not my ability to deliver, but I should be confident in our product and our ability to deliver the services that these folks are looking for. That's what sales is having the empathy to understand what your prospect is struggling with, what their pain points are, right? And maybe the product or service you sell isn't for a pain point. Maybe it's a pleasure thing. So what is the pleasure that your prospect is getting out of that? What is like their end result? Because that's what you're selling them at that point is saying, hey, this is what you want. I can help you achieve that. Here's the process. Here's what it's going to cost. Sign on the dotted line.
Yeah.
And so that's the craziest thing, right? And a lot of what I do, I like to be outside the box. I'm kind of a goofy fella. I love memes and GIFs. So I always work that into my sales process, whether it's, branding and marketing, making people aware of the product and service that we offer, or, building rapport, kind of breaking the ice a little bit, making things a little less tense, because everybody loves GIFs. Everybody loves memes. So if you can do it in a way that's fun and friendly, it just eases that conversation with the prospect, kind of builds that know, like, and trust factor. And it just makes it so much easier to help people at that point. So that's kind of my story and my process there.
Sure. I would just like to touch base about mindset in terms of sales. So whenever you start having a conversation with someone, and this can be on a phone or via messenger, what is it that you go in with? I mean, is there a specific way or a specific thing that you do? I don't know, just having a look at what the prospect is all about, what they do, stuff like that. And then do you visualize things? How does that work in your brain?
Yeah, that's a great question. So when I get on a call or I get someone that reaches out to me, I always run the same process. When I'm going into the conversation, I'm always going into it with the thought of, how can I help this person be successful?
Hmm.
Sometimes helping someone is not selling them the product, is not helping them, right? Like, not every sale is going to be a great sale. Sometimes you have to turn it down. And I'm not
Hmm.
saying that you want to turn down a lot, but there's just, my goal is always to find the right fit for the client. How can I help them the most right now? Because that's
Hmm.
what essentially people are looking for. They're looking for an immediate result. They want something to happen right away. It's pretty rare that you can give someone an immediate result, but there are certain things that you can learn or offer of value. And you do a great job of this with, your content that you share, Rohan, is that, you can help them. So that's how I go into every call. How can I help this person? How can I leave this conversation where that person on the other end is better off because of it, whether they buy something or not? How can I leave them in a better position?
Yeah.
So that's my mindset going into it, right? When I start that conversation, a lot
Hmm.
of what I do is inbound marketing. So I don't have to like go out and cold call and do all that so much anymore. But
Yeah.
I've built the authority, and this is kind of what you were talking about. It seems like all of a sudden I popped up online and I'm everywhere. But the reason that it seems that way is because I'm very intentional with the way that I'm using these platforms, so that my consistency, my routine basically makes it so that every time you log into one of these platforms, I'm at the top of your feed. Like, you can't
Yeah.
avoid me.
Hmm.
That's kind of what we're trying to teach everybody in general, right? Especially in this group. Like, you need the content, you need to be consistent, you need to stay in front of people so that they can reach out to you.
Yeah.
So when someone reaches out, I always have the same process.
Hmm.
Hey, what made you decide to reach out today?
Hmm.
It's a pretty simple question, but it's very, very powerful. Basically, it's, invoking, hey, you made a decision, which is the hardest person in the world to get anyone to do. You can ask your spouse, your significant other, hey, where do you want to eat? They don't know.
Yeah.
Making a decision is hard. It's
Yeah.
hard. So
Hmm.
when someone reaches out, I say, hey, what made you decide to reach out today? That's a powerful trigger. So then there's usually two different kinds of people. The first person, they're like, well, I want this, or I want to know more about this. Okay. The other person, though, they tell you their life story. They give you, back in, the fourth grade, I had this happen, whatever. So those are the great, I love working with those people because they really make my job easy. Hey, here's what's going on. Here's what we can do for you. So either way, it's always the same conversation. All right, what made you decide to reach out? Cool. That's awesome. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to ask you a handful of questions just to make sure everything's a good fit for you. If you have any questions for me, all I ask is that you stop and ask. That way I can answer honestly. And all I ask is that you answer honestly as well. Does that sound fair? Again, we're trying to disarm them with this question because most of the time, and like I said earlier, you go into a sales conversation a little reserved, right? Like, this guy's a sales guy. He's going to try to take advantage of me. And
Uh-huh.
that's just ingrained in us from a young age.
Hmm.
That's why the mindset, right? That's so important, that confidence, that empathy. Does that sound fair? Basically, we just want them to understand. We just want to help, right? Okay. Most people say, yeah, that's fair. Awesome. So then we go through a handful of questions, and no matter what business or industry that you're in, you should have probably 5 or 6 different primary questions that you ask on every single call that help you, first of all, find out if your product or service is going to be a good fit for the prospect, but then also gives you the ammunition you need to handle objections when they start coming up in the call. Because inevitably, everybody has objections.
Yeah.
So those questions that you're asking are the pain points, and where you can fit your solution to cover those. Um, and then how you can handle those objections when they come up. And that's one of the other things that I like to try and do in my sales process is overcome objections before we even get to them. So that's, kind of the idea, having 4 or 5 questions that gets the prospect thinking. I like kind of more open-ended questions instead of more of a, hey, is it this problem or that problem? Like, hey, what do you think is it that's causing you to struggle with generating more leads? Like, what do you think keeps you from closing more deals?
This is good.
Because it could be anything. They could be like, well, I need this or I need that. Okay, cool. So here's how we can help you with that specific problem. On every call, and it's just something I know I'm still guilty of, and I know other salespeople are guilty of, we want to talk about too much. Like, we want to give them too much information. It just causes an overload, makes it difficult for them to make a decision.
Correct.
So one call, one problem, one solution, right? That's the idea. We want to pinpoint what that biggest problem is, what keeps them up at night, what is making it so that their life is miserable right now, and how can we solve that problem? Because the bigger the problem you can solve, first of all, people are going to want to pay to get it solved because that's why they're there in the first place. But the more they're going to probably pay you for it. So if you can go into them and say, hey, this is the biggest issue that you're facing, and here's how we can solve it, you can close them on a $2,500 a month contract or a $5,000 a month contract, because in that conversation leading up to that, you've already asked them what their biggest problem is. They've given you everything that you need to help close the sale. So that's our process. We ask them, hey, what made you decide to reach out? Perfect. We clarify why they're there. We assign their mind to an agenda. Okay, here's what's going to happen. We're going to ask some questions and go through this. We talk through the pain. Basically, hey, this is what you're struggling with. Here's where you're at. And then we help them make a decision. We close them and help them make a decision. Okay, cool. If we can help you achieve this, is that what you'd like to do? Yes? All right, cool. Here's the next step. We're going to send you the link. We're going to do this. And that goes for any business or sales process. You need to kind of do what I call, of course, the word's escaping me, future pacing. So when I'm having conversations, it's not an if, it's a when. Hey, when you sign up with us, here's what the next steps look like. When we get this going, this is how we're going to take care of you. You're putting that confidence in them that this is what the next step is going to be. It's not, well, if you decide to sign up, no, when you decide to sign up with us, you want to be confident in that delivery because that makes them feel confident in you. And again, that confidence is what closes sales. So that's my big process, essentially. Go into it confident, knowing that I can help them and knowing that my whole goal is just to help them, and then walking them through that catch process, clarifying why they're there, talking them through it, and then closing the deal.
Makes sense. A question around this: how do you differentiate, or how do you let me frame it in a better way? So especially on LinkedIn or Facebook, doesn't matter. Generally when people show interest, it's via Messenger. So LinkedIn, Facebook. Do you always make sure to get the prospect on a call, or you try to also close the sale, so to say, on the Messenger? How does that work? Is there any difference in the process there?
Yeah, so that's one of the first things I'll do when people start connecting with me, whether it's Facebook or LinkedIn Messenger. I'll ask them, hey, thank you so much. What made you decide to reach out? Would you prefer to chat here or hop on a call? I'm good either way. I know you're busy. You tell me what works best for you. Yeah. Some people don't want to get on a call. They're busy. They don't have 45 minutes. They want to be able to just respond when they get a minute. So I'm cool. I'll close in the DMs. I'll close in the phone. It don't matter to me. I've probably done, close to $250,000 or more in the last year of sales just in the DM, never even talking to somebody, just hanging out, having conversations. But I always run it the same way, whether I'm on the phone or in the DM. I always ask those same questions. The questions, that the process is what's important. Where it happens doesn't really matter. Honestly, I prefer to work in the messages because then I can have 7 or 8 different conversations going on at one time and not be having to be Johnny on the spot with objection handling. Someone can send me a message, I can glance at it, and then I can take 5 or 10 minutes to craft my response versus being on a phone. If someone was like, well, I don't believe in the price. If I just sat there silent for 5 minutes, they'd hang up on me. It wouldn't go well, right? So I actually prefer to work in the DMs as much as possible because I find that it's just so much easier to have multiple conversations. I can be thoughtful with my response. I can actually craft it and make it sound good. And that's
Yeah,
something I want to encourage everyone who watches this. You
absolutely.
need to get really, really, really good at writing and using text to sell and to have conversations. If you're not great with grammar, if you're not great at, typing, you need to work on that. In this day and age, it is the vital key to survival in your business is having the ability to speak eloquently with your words and
Yeah.
to be, a reasonably good typer as far as your grammar and your spelling. Thankfully, we have spell check and there's something like Grammarly where you can, use those tools to help you if you're struggling. But I really, really, really recommend copywriting as a top priority for everyone that watches this because that's going to be a game changer for you. I know it helped me significantly.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, as far as I'll have a conversation wherever the client's comfortable. That's the most important part, right? Like what's going to make them comfortable. If they don't
Yeah.
want to get a call and I force them to get on a call, you're already making it harder on yourself, right?
Mm.
So
Yeah, that
that's my
makes sense.
theory.
That's absolutely true. I mean, that, and especially the thing with putting out content in the form of copywriting. This is exactly what we promote in the group as well. It's so crucial to show that you are an authority in your field. Then also that supports the sales process as well, because those guys are seeing your content on a daily basis, and the conversations become way easier, and that's how they can open up to you and tell you about what they are really here or why they are really reaching out. Otherwise, people, as you said, always have their guard on, and that kind of makes the sales process, I wouldn't say difficult, but a little challenging. So coming to that, how do you generally, I mean, not all the people are still like that. If someone is a little difficult in terms of answering the questions and going in deep, how do you make sure to uh, break that wall, so to say, with them?
Yeah, so there are definitely those people that want to give you like short one-word answers or like, be very short.
Yeah.
Typically, I'll work at one of two ways. I'll send them a meme or a gift to kind of like release some of that tension. I love like I love memes and gifts, man. This is like my favorite thing in the world. So I do a lot of that. But then also, if someone has reached out to me and they're being short or cold or non-responsive, I'll simply say, "Hey, I understand you're busy and I don't want to waste any of your time. If you're serious about help, that's what I'm trying to do. If not, no hard feelings. Like, go back to doing what you're doing. It's getting you the results that you expect."
Hmm.
And so sometimes I'll kind of just like put it back on them. Like, hey, you reached out to me and you don't want my, like, you want help, but you're not letting me help you. So
Yeah.
we have to make a decision. Are you going to have this conversation and see what the potential is? Or do you want to go back to doing what you're doing, knowing exactly what kind of results you're getting from it?
Absolutely. It makes complete sense. I mean, people people want leadership somewhere, because everyone, or people prefer that, okay, let someone guide me and I can just relax and breathe. So if you give that feeling, it helps a lot for sure. And sometimes it's necessary to put in the hammer and say, dude, come on, let's talk. So yeah, I
Yeah.
know what you're talking about. And then this transitions also into the follow-up. Do you have a follow-up process, that if someone doesn't reply for, I don't know, a day or two or a week, how do you make the conversation, how do you rekindle the conversation again?
I'm super glad you asked this question. And I've got a great story because just yesterday, we closed a $30,000 deal that I have been following up on for over a year. So like when I
Wow.
first started here, I connected with this guy. He bought one of our lower ticket digital products. It's like $500 product or whatever. And so, obviously the upsell being important, right? So I'm just connecting with him. Hey, so the first thing is I sold him the product. And for the first month or so, I followed up just to see what he was getting out of the product. Just, hey, did you enjoy it? Did you like it? Things like that. Um, it took me a year of following up with this guy like every other month, sending him memes, sending him gifts, just kind of touching base to just see how he was doing. And he kept telling me, "Hey, I'm working on a big project. Like, I know I want to connect with you. Don't give up on me. Like, I'm working on this big project." And we all kind of get to that, like, dude, are you BSing me or what the deal is?
Yes.
Um, you know, So the other day I saw it was his birthday. I sent him a video message like, hey man, just wanted to reach out, wish you a happy birthday in person. So this is the first lesson I want you guys to take away from this. If you're working with folks on social media, it's going to tell you their birthday. The key that I'm using that's like just hammering right now, just crushing it, a birthday video message. Hey, this is Drewby. I saw it was your birthday. I just wanted to reach out in person because I think they're best done in person. I know everybody just spams your inbox and your wall with happy birthdays, but I think this is a little more personal. Just want to remind you that I'm here to help. If there's anything you ever need, please don't hesitate to reach out. Otherwise, go crush the day before it crushes you. I know you will because it's your birthday. It takes me 15, 20 seconds maybe. The Facebook will tell you every single morning whose birthday it is. I think LinkedIn does the same, right? You can look at people's birthdays. That video takes me no time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But it's so powerful.
Yeah.
So powerful. People are like, oh shit, that's awesome, man. Thank you so much for the birthday. Like, people's family members aren't sending them video messages. Their best friends aren't sending them video messages. I'm like some random ass sales dude over here, and I'm like, hey, what's up, guys? You guys want to have a birthday? Like, that's the difference, right? Like, you have to do something to make yourself stand out. You send a video message, right? A guy follows up. He's like, dude, I just finished out this big project I've been telling you about. I'm getting $1 million commission check on Friday. Let's reconnect. And I went, wait, you're getting $1 million? He's like, yeah, bro, 7-figure commission check. I told you this was a big ass job. Like, holy smokes. So that's the thing. Like, so all of a sudden now he's in our $30,000 program. Like, we're just moving. But the follow-up, so this going back into the follow-up, I wanted to tell that story because that's the deal. It took me a year, but in that year, I was able to end up closing him on a huge deal. So my follow-up process is as such. When they reach out, they come in. We have the sales conversation. We determine whether our product's a good fit or not. If it is, great. Get them on the right product. We send them on their way. Let them do the work. I put them in a 30-day follow-up process. So if they've bought something from me, I'm hitting them up, every 30, 45 days if I can, because I'm busy, right? And eventually I'll hire an assistant to go out and do that for me. But I'm staying on them. Hey, are you getting the results you expected? Are you doing the work? First and foremost, are you doing the work? Because that's what's going to get the results. Okay, if you're doing the work, what are the results? How can we make them better? What's the next step, right? So just every 30, 45 days, people that have bought. If they don't buy, they go into a daily follow-up process for about a week to 14 days, depending on where they were at. If there's somebody that's like, yeah, I'm interested, but I need to get the money together, or, I've got this that's closing on Friday and then I'll have the money. All right, cool. I'm going to follow up with you on this day. The most important part of follow-up is actually doing the follow-up, calling the damn people when you say you're going to call them. If you tell somebody, hey, I'll call you Friday afternoon at 3:00 and you don't call them, you've instantly killed any trust factor that you had. They trusted you and you let them down. You didn't even call them. You couldn't even follow up with them. What's going to happen after you get their money? That's what you're telling them, right? So follow-up is key. That trust factor is important. Hey, I'm going to call you Friday at 3:00. You better damn well be calling Friday by 3:05 at the latest, or have texted them to say, hey, I'm running a few minutes behind on my last call. I'll connect with you soon.
Yeah.
So I put them in that daily, weekly follow-up process for about a month. They don't respond then. I put them into a monthly follow-up drip. And when I say follow-up, it's not a, hey, are you ready to buy my shit?
Yeah.
Hey, can we get caught up so you can, make that purchase? Don't do that. On occasion, yeah, it certainly makes sense that you have to have that conversation. But for me, if they don't buy, it's because they don't see the value in what I'm offering them.
Yeah.
People buy when value exceeds price. So if they don't buy, it's because I haven't given them the value. I haven't shown them the value of what we can do. So my job at that point is to send them value. Because I've asked these questions, I know what they do, what they're struggling with, where they need the most help. And we've got content for years that I can send people. We've got blogs, we've got videos, we've got free training. We've got all of these different things that I can send them. So my job at that point, if they don't close, is to start providing more value. Here's an article that we wrote. Here's a video I think that would be valuable for you. Here's a tactic that I know you can go and implement that doesn't cost you anything. You just got to do a little bit of work. Knowing that if they do any of the dozen different things that I say, if they do any one of those things, they're going to get results.
Yeah.
I just have to keep sending it. Just have to keep following up. For me, you asked about when people go ghost. So my favorite thing, and this just happened. This is the greatest thing about this is all of these stories, I can share something where it actually happened. And so I had a guy this weekend, got on the phone with him, talked to him about Apex. He was all in. He's like, yeah, brother, send me the link. Let's do this. I'm in. I'm excited. Awesome. Send him the link. Hey man, welcome to the family. Can't wait to get you going. Nothing. 24 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours. I'm like, dude, what the fuck? Like, what's going on? So yesterday morning, I sent him a GIF because I hadn't heard from him. And I don't like to pester people. Like, you know, Ryan's a hardcore closer. I'm definitely not that guy. So I try to be cool. But at some point, we're in sales, right? And we don't eat unless we sell something. So yesterday morning, I sent the guy a GIF, and I shared it in the sales talk group. But basically, it's a dude. He pokes his head out from behind these bleachers, and he's like, hey, you good? And it's just kind of a funny little pushy GIF. The guy responded back like 10 minutes later. He's like, dude, that's hilarious. I just updated my information. Let's get this going. I'm stealing that meme, by the way.
Cool.
Like,
awesome. Yeah.
All right, cool, man. Let's do this, right? 5K, locked in, loaded. Let's do this. So that follow-up is key. And so I always just have, like, obviously, if you don't have a CRM, you need to go and get one. You need to have a platform where you're keeping all of this data stored and organized. Yeah. If you don't have a system or a routine that you're following, put one in place, write it down. Hey, if it's a new lead, I'm going to call them once a day for 5 days and then every other day until day 30 after they've come in. That's a good process. That's one that I use. They come in and I call them a couple times a day for the first day. I send them text messages, emails. I call, they don't respond. I go every other. Do that for about a week. They don't respond. I'll go weekly. Then after that, they go into that monthly cycle of, hey, they didn't respond, whatever. Cool. I hit them up in a month again, see where they're at. Because that's the thing. Only 5% of people are ready to buy right now. Even if they've raised their hand and be like, hey, will you call me, please? Like, I'm interested. It's only like 5% of people that will actually pick up the phone and listen to what you have to say. That other 95% is millions and millions of dollars worth of commissions if you work it correctly. So absolutely. That's my big thing with follow-up is have a system, stick to it, follow it consistently like your life depends on it, and just know that you can't hit them up every time and say, hey, will you buy my shit? Like, you got to build rapport. You got to provide value. I always do 80-20, right? So like 80% value, 20% pitch. So I might send like 3 or 4 posts of value and then just hit them with a, hey man, I know you're doing the work. This is what's happening. This is really what the next step looks like. When are we going to make that happen? And that's kind of my process. It's done well. It's helped me close, multiple 7 figures in insurance. And, I've done just over, $1 million here with Break Free Academy. It's all from follow-up. That's the biggest thing is follow-up, guys.
And this is exactly what I promote as well, especially on LinkedIn as well. They don't have that video feature on the desktop. However, if you download the app on your phone, you can send GIFs, you can send voice messages, you can send videos, you can send documents, doesn't matter. So this is exactly what I say to the people in the group is try different angles, something will click. And exactly what you mentioned, keep on providing them value. At one point, they will say, oh my God, this guy, he definitely knows his stuff. I want to know and I want to have what he has because he definitely, and this also comes with the market research. That's very crucial because we are not just sending them any random article or a video or a voice message. We are sending something which we know is their pain point. So that's a very crucial aspect of sales. So guys, follow up, cannot emphasize enough. Absolutely important. That comes down to your program, the memes that you use. Would you mind telling a bit about that as well?
No, I'll be happy to do that. And I've got about 5 or 6 more minutes before I got to get on my next call. So I'm going to do 2 things. Before I go, the last thing, the value that I want to provide for you guys is that you need to live and die by a calendar. If your day is not organized, there's no structure to your, process. If you're not living very intentional with every hour that you have in the day, you're missing out on a huge opportunity. So real quick, my day starts at 4:15 a.m. My alarm goes off. I do an hour of cardio. I have my gratitude exercises. Everything in my day is blocked out and set up on the calendar. So from the moment I wake up to today, I've got this call started at 1 p.m. I've got a call at 2 p.m., 2:30, 3. We've got a webinar at 4. Like everything in my day is on a calendar and I live and die by that calendar. It's basically my personal boss, especially because a lot of folks who are going to watch this are entrepreneurs and are kind of like their own boss. You
Yeah.
need to be responsible to something or someone. That calendar is it. So
Yeah.
for me, in the mornings, I get my workout, my gratitudes. Then I have a little bit of family time. Then I come to the office. That first few hours of the day is CRM, messaging, follow up. Afternoon, I have set up for sales calls. So I'm always preloading my day with things to work on.
Yeah.
So, in the morning when I'm sending messages, hey, if you do want to get on a call, here's my calendar link, go book. So then
Yeah.
by 1 o'clock, I've got my entire afternoon lined up with sales calls for things that I can go and work on.
Yeah.
Go home at 4:30, 5 o'clock, have a few hours of family time. Then I do some, late night work, follow up messaging, content creation, etc. By 9:30, 10 o'clock, I'm in bed every day. I get up, rinse, repeat, do this every single day. So that's the last thing I wanted to share a value as far as, if you're not living and dying by your calendar, if you don't have a routine or a process for your day, you need to get that set up immediately, if not sooner, because it's going to be a game changer. As far as the course and the memes and the gifts, here's the thing. People love them. There are ways that you can utilize them that you probably haven't thought much about. You see big businesses using them, Wendy's and Geico and all of these companies, celebrities are trying to do things that become meme worthy because that's what gets them back into the spotlight. So here's a cool thing about memes. When you share it on social media, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, doesn't matter, people will stop and they're going to look at them. They're pattern interrupts. That's why they're so powerful in the follow-up process, because most people are expecting you to send them the same old shit. Hey, I'm just checking back with you. Hey, are you ready to buy? Would you like to move forward? When you hit them with a GIF or a meme, especially if you personalize it, one of my favorite things to do is create a meme where it's personalized to the prospect. Like when people go ghost, it'll be like me holding it, like there's a guy holding the phone like a skeleton, right? And it's like me just waiting for John to call back, me just waiting for Jeff to finish up his other appointments. So personalization, kind of like the birthday videos, it stands out. It's pattern interrupt, right? They're not expecting that. And if you can make them chuckle, like the guy with the, you good? Like people laugh at that, right? So it's like, oh, this guy. All right, cool. I'm gonna message him back. So it's super powerful. And what I did is I realized, a few months back that I was having a lot of success using these memes and these GIFs. So I thought to myself, well, how can I teach others to do this the same way? Just like we talked about before, like how can I take what I'm doing and teach it to others, knowing that it's going to make me better as a person in general, but it's super powerful. So I created Closer Memes. If you guys are interested, you can pick up a copy, closermemes.com. I'm sure Rohan will be kind enough to share it in the comments and all that. But basically, I give you the step-by-step process I use for figuring out the audience prospecting, figuring out exactly how to come up with the right pain points to push in the meme. So like how to find meme templates, how to write the text on there, how to create them in a way that has an emotional connection with your audience and your prospects, how to use them in a way that doesn't come across as like, for lack of a better word, douchey, right? Like you don't want to be a scumball, but if you can do it in a way that's fun and friendly and engaging, whether you're posting them on your timeline, sharing them in a DM or in your stories, like there are so many great ways that you can use them for branding and marketing and sales and follow-up and referrals. I set one up for a guy to do referrals and he got 10 referrals from it. Like just sharing it on his wall. Like what could you do with 10 referrals right now? It would be insane.
Yeah.
So that's the deal. Closermemes.com. If you're interested, comment below that you bought it, and I'm going to hook you up with a couple extra programs that we offer as well, like probably another $200-300 in bonus programs, just because I like you guys. And Rohan's been kind enough to let me share that with you here in the group. So I want to make sure to provide as much value as I can for everybody here. Because, man, I truly, truly, truly appreciate you letting me share my story and hang out with you for a little while today.
Sure, it's a pleasure, dude. I mean, I personally wanted to know it since a long time, so this was like the best opportunity to share it with. I mean, for me personally as well, and to the group as well. So it's more or less the stories that people like and connect, and if we can inspire anyone with our stories, nothing like it. And your story is definitely one of those.
Well, hey, man, I appreciate it. And I'm happy to help anyone that, watches this now in the future. If you have questions, make sure you're commenting below, engage in the group, right? The easiest way to get ahead and be omnipresent, to be recognized, to build that authority is to engage in these groups, ask questions, answer questions, give more than you take. I promise you, if you stick to that formula, give 80%, ask 20%, your life will change.
Sure. If anyone wants to connect with you, Drewby, what's the best way to connect with you?
Yep. So add me on Facebook, at Drewby Rides on Instagram, Drewby Wilson on LinkedIn. I mean, I'm pretty consistent across all of my platforms, which is important for you guys to know as well. Like brand consistency, stay similar across all of your platforms. Understand that they each have their own little, niche type things, but if you stay consistent across them, it makes it that much easier for your audience to find you.
Cool. I'm just gonna check if we have some questions here inside the group. If not, I'll let you go. I know you're you're a busy person today.
I appreciate you.
Nothing yet. People are loving it, which is pretty cool.
Good. And we're mid-afternoon, so most of you guys gals are hardworking. You're putting in the effort, right? So you're doing what you got to do. But if you're watching this in the future, definitely do a hashtag replay to let us know that you watched it, because we want to see what kind of value we're providing. Obviously, Rohan, you do an incredible job, so I really want to encourage you to keep doing what you're doing, man, because I'm just so proud of you. And I personally learned from a lot of your content too, so don't stop, because I need that just as much as everybody in the group, man.
Thank you. Appreciate you so much, brother.
Awesome. Well, you have a great night. We'll catch up with everybody real soon. You know what I always say, crush the day before it crushes you.
Take care. Thank you so much.
See ya.
See ya, brother. Bye.